The teacher probably is not most effective to run right in at the first sign of trouble and save the student. On the other hand, when frustration begins to break out and a student's backing off, perhaps that's a time for a teacher to do something.
I guess it's really never been a problem of encouraging kids to go further because learning is valued. Everybody wants to try.
This class has a cluster of students with special learning needs. Connie Falco is a special education teacher who team teaches with Sharon Rowe.
We're noticing that self-esteem is so high when we've been able to bring children all together, despite the fact that they've had years of feeling like failures and suddenly are trying things for the first time, and their success is contagious. When I want to assess how the kids are doing after presenting a topic, I like to walk about and look at their work.
Both understand it?
Many times they'll raise their hand and ask for help if they're not getting it immediately. But quick feedback is very important so that I'm sensing if they're learning it wrong or practicing it wrong. And with two in the classroom, it makes it so much easier to keep up with that.
Michael, I'm letting him use the calculator for all of it. He's understanding the steps.
He gets the process.
But again, there's plenty of times while the students are trying what we've just taught them, and we can move back away and talk to each other, and sometimes mid-lesson we've changed our whole plan and gone from there. And often we get new starting points daily.
Okay, you ready to move on to that? All right.
Teachers can coach students anytime they've got a second, and there's something to coach them on. If the child is understanding well, then coaching for the next step is it. If there's some ambiguity, then coaching there. Anytime a teacher is not directly teaching or directly sitting with a group or assessing students, the time ought to be spent coaching. Probably in a good differentiated classroom, there's just not a lot of examples of free time for teachers.
You may find you're working with bigger numbers.
What I really am looking at is not just a vase that I'm supposed to fill with information, but a person that I can really help see themselves more and more as a successful learner.
3 goes into 12, Kenny. How many times?
4.
Yes. All right. Then your average answer is 14. Kenny has 14. Raise your hand if that's what you got.
Through observing and coaching, teachers can often see where students need help or further challenge. Teaching and reteaching these students in small groups are effective ways to respond to their needs.
Good job.
Whereas most of us are fairly comfortable with whole class instruction, we may not have thought so much about teaching small groups of students or individuals, but there's so many times when that's such a wonderful thing to do.
Kelly, you mentioned that you had a question that you weren't quite understanding.
If I have a student that doesn't understand something from yesterday, or a group of 5 or 6 of them, how much more sense it makes to sit down with them, to go through it again, to let them ask questions in a fairly protected environment, to give them a few opportunities to try things out, than to simply send them on and hope that someday it will all come together.
All right, let's do it together here. How many times does 3 go into 6?
Twice.
Good. Anything left over?
No.
Afia, 3 into 3?
1.
So your average is?
121.
121. Are you pretty clear on that now? Do you understand what to do?
Yeah.
And you understand the fact that you divide, this number here is actually your 3 add-ins. You get that now?
Yeah.
Great. Okay, tell me about the reading problem that you had on here.
There's so many things that I can do with individuals in small group just to really maximize the power of my teaching and to help students move in the way that's most efficient and effective for them.
You're still looking for departments and agencies, right? So did you look back here? There's Department of Justice.
It may be evident to a teacher at one moment that a student really didn't grasp today's lesson. And so the teacher makes the decision that she'll reteach that student and perhaps some others who missed the point.
Anybody that's having difficulty finding information on their topic, will you meet me back here at the back of the room so we can talk about how you go about doing that? Okay, let's say you are trying to find out about bills or laws, like a couple of people are, and they're saying, there's not a book that says bills on it or laws on it. So then what do? How do you go about finding information?
So I think of small group teaching anytime there's an indication that I can help a student close a gap in understanding or continue to evolve their understanding in practice. I would also think in terms of small group teaching as perhaps not only reteaching but extending teaching for those students who have mastered a skill or who need to be shown the next facet of quality.
If you are working on the 5-paragraph essay, if you could come up here and have a seat on the rug so it's indicated on your, and you need to bring the outline. That's the only thing that you need to bring.
For students who are ready to learn more advanced techniques for writing introductory and concluding paragraphs, Sabina assembles that group up front as the other students continue to work.
Guys, up here, this is our second attempt. The concluding paragraph, I think, is even more difficult than the introduction paragraph. Why? Why is that even going to be a bigger challenge? Michaela?
Because you don't want to say, like, you don't want to repeat what you said in the whole thing, and you just want to just kind of briefly sum it up.
Exactly. You are basically going to tell the reader once again what your position is, but the challenge is that you have to do it in a fresh, innovative, new way. All right, you have to come up with some way to somehow twist what you've said so that it comes across as being a little bit different, but you don't want it to be so different that it's different from what you've been arguing the whole paper.
I wish we could put all of your projects in your portfolio, but they won't fit, all those wonderful things.
Another important role of the teacher is monitoring students' growth over time. It helps both teachers and students to see progress and determine new learning goals.
Portfolios in school are a great way to help teachers, students, and hopefully parents understand their children's learning journeys through school. A portfolio gives clear evidence that I started here and have progressed to this point. It also is a great launching pad then for a teacher to sit down with the student and say, okay, given what we've seen in your portfolio, let's decide what some next steps are for you. What should some things be that you'd be working on next time around?
I was just thinking today how much you've changed in the year and a half I've known you. Would you agree with that?
It's important for students and teachers to have opportunities to talk one-on-one about how a student is doing, where that student's going, and what it'll take to get them there well. It's way too easy for young people to get lost in a class and to have a sense that the teacher really does not know me as an individual. So it's very important for the teacher and student to be able to say, let's talk about what learning goals you've had. Let's look at some examples of your work.
In my writing, I know that I rush through and and then when I go back, how do you spell that? And I know how to spell it.
And you know how to spell it. So this is from last year. If you were to go back here and look at this, would you find some things that you would do differently now?
Maybe.
Certainly it helps for many students, for teachers to model that kind of conferencing initially. But over time, it would be really great if the teacher could help the student prepare to lead the student-teacher conference so that the student could come and say, here's something I've been working on, here are some goals that I have for myself, and what else would you like to suggest?
I would really like to hear what some of you have to say about the information that you learned today. Anybody interested in sharing?
Teachers in differentiated classrooms also understand the value of closure activities as part of learning.
Bringing closure to class tasks is extremely important on several levels. It helps the teacher establish a sense of community, it helps the teacher ensure student clarity about what was learned, and it helps make clear a sense of student accountability for the learnings that the teacher has given them during the class period.
Without remembering your past mistakes, you can't correct them in the future, and history will continually repeat itself. There's no push forward to acquire new experiences. You can't continue to improve upon yourself if you do not have the lower level experiences to draw from.
I think it's important for other kids to see how much information has been learned by others and to see that they're probably right on task. I think it gives kids a feeling of being very successful. The second reason is that when you do that, you are cementing that information in their head. So not only have they worked on it the whole period, but they've journaled it, and I guarantee you tomorrow when they come in, they'll know this material.
A memory I've decided has to be one of our most precious assets because without it, we are nothing.
Closure activities let us look both backwards and forward. It lets the teacher help students understand what they accomplished that day, the purpose of it, what worked well, what didn't work well, but already plants the seed for what comes next. what are the next plans? How does what we do next connect to what we did today? What ought we to be looking forward to?
Wow, so are your brains bursting? Yeah. Whoa, so much information. Okay, who has a success story? Jasmine.
I finally decided what I wanted to study, and I found 5 books about it, and then I found information in the atlas.
Wow, so you found multiple resources too. Awesome. Danny.
I found 3 websites on what I was looking for.
Great. Did you write them down so that you can share them with us? Awesome. I know there were some people that didn't have as much luck, that were looking for some books and couldn't find information. Caroline.
It was kind of hard finding some things because everybody took the good books that you would have an easier time, and it was harder to find.
If you find something, I saw a lot of you doing that today. If you find something that you know will help someone else, I really appreciate it when you share it. That's a great way to work together. Okay, I would like to thank all of my friends for your hard work this morning. Pat yourself on the backs. Good job.
I think that we probably have our greatest challenge in saying I was not put in this classroom to be in control and to know all things, but to continue to learn at least as much and as fast as my students do, not only about the curriculum, but how to connect the curriculum with learners that I can develop a deeper appreciation for every day.